Are you concerned about relapse? Are you worried because your child has gone down the path of substance use and now finally is turning the page and all your new anxieties are coming up about what could be coming in the future? Hi, I'm Cathy Tombaugh, and I work with parents who are concerned about drug or alcohol use with their sons or daughters, usually young adults, but also teens as well. So relapse is a big question that comes up for parents. And I love this quote from Dr. Myers just to start off the talk today. And Dr. Myers says, when they relapse, let's not condemn them because they had 1 or 2 days where they went backward. Let's start all over again and stay positive. So again, if you've looked at any of my work around, I really love the craft approach that was developed by Dr. Myers, and the Center for Motivation and Change has really gone out and tried to spread the word about craft and the invitation to change approach. So these are tools and strategies that I have found to be extremely helpful. And again, most of it is based around, well, really all of it is based around positivity, of approaching the problem in a positive way. So we know that addiction needs to be managed. There's not a cure for addiction. It's like anything else, such as diabetes or even cancer or other diseases that occur. You have to manage it. I once heard an analogy of addiction as a broken leg, and it's, your leg heals and it mends, but you have to be aware and cognizant of the fact that you did have a broken leg and maybe pay a little bit more attention to that leg in certain situations. So I feel like addiction's similar to that. Definitely people can manage it. There are millions that are doing that, but you just have to be cognizant of that you have been down this road. This is something that's affected you, and to just be aware as you go forward. So we know that with substance use, there's 40 to 60% relapse rates. And I wish that weren't true, but that is pretty much the fact. And that's from the National Institute on Drug Abuse, NIDA. With hypertension, there's a 50 to 60%, 50 to 70% relapse rate. And with asthma, there's 50 to 70% relapse rate. So you can see that this is not unlike other diseases, other things that affect us. Relapse can be a common, for example, if you're trying to lose weight, you might do well for a number of days or weeks, and then all of a sudden you relapse and go back to eating, a piece of chocolate cake or that kind of thing. So it's human nature. It's part of really what we're all about. So it's nothing to be completely surprised about, but I think for parents who are really tired and exhausted already, to think about the idea of relapse and going back down into the road that's been so difficult is really scary and causes a lot of stress and anxiety. So I have for you 6 tips that might help, just things to consider when you're thinking about relapse and worrying about your child's future. The first one is to not obsess about relapse, to not let your fears really take over your life, to really be grateful and celebrate your child's progress. I know for many it feels a little bit bittersweet when our children go off to treatment. It's exciting, really. Wow, after all this trouble and pain that they have felt, and what they've put you through as well, to realize that they're turning a corner. I mean, it's just amazing, really. And to focus on that, to focus on the positive actions that your child is taking. So the second thing is to do things to help yourself. So I know it's easy for me to say these words, to manage your anxiety. And again, when I've talked to parents, I've heard from many of them that they felt more fear when their child went into recovery than they almost did when their child was using, because they just did not want to go back to those scary times that they had before. So again, self-care, which we've talked about so much, but what I want to emphasize again is so important to put into place now, to add more things into your toolbox that maybe you haven't thought of, change things up a bit. Do what you need to help you get through this difficult time. And it's really a time of celebration, but it's a rocky road right now when your child is in early recovery. I mean, it's a little stressful, right? So do things to help yourself. The third tip I like to talk about is to encourage aftercare. I know everyone's different. In our experience, aftercare was super helpful. And I feel, just in the bottom of my heart, I feel it's crucial for helping our kids enter long-term recovery, long-term change, to really internalize what they need to know about themselves, to feel good about themselves, and to have that inner strength. So when things come up, when challenges come up or temptations come up, that they are able to stay on their path. So important, I feel. I have parents that tell me, their kids have come home and then they, instantly relapsed or pretty quickly after. I urge you to think seriously about when is the right time to bring your child home. This is a great discussion to have with the counselors if your child is in a treatment program. But it's also important to think about as a parent and family members. When we bring our children home too soon, it creates a situation where relapse is more likely to happen. So you want to think about how quickly you're going to bring your child home from a treatment program. And that is why I do really strongly support sober living communities. I feel that it gives your child a sense of community with they're surrounded by people who are on the same path that they are, which they're not going to find often if they come home and their only social outlet is going to be former friends that are still drinking or are still using drugs. It's going to be very difficult to maneuver through those situations. Now, that being said, I know this isn't possible for everyone. Not everyone has their child in a treatment program, and some people do have to learn to find recovery and change their life while they are at home. And so, again, your situation is different, but think about what can be put in place to help your son or daughter have community around them and have support that can really help them through. And the fourth idea is not to manage your child's recovery. I know it's tempting and it's all based on fear. It's always based on fear. We get nervous, we worry that our child's going to relapse, and so we try to get them to go to a meeting or see their counselor or do different things. But what happens often is what you're doing is sending the message to your child that you don't have faith that they can manage their recovery themselves. You want them to feel like they have the inner strength to do this. And most of our kids do. I mean, most of the kids that are at this point where they have changed their life, there are going to be starts and stops, but most of them really can step up and take charge of their life if we give them that message and if we support them in that process of having them manage their recovery and their change. And again, it's based on our fear that something bad's going to happen. And I totally get that. I totally do. But we do want to think about how we can support our child's strengths and remind them of their inner strengths. And 5 is to consider triggers to relapse and to help your child also think these through. Now, if your child is in a treatment program, the counselors are the ones that are going to really be doing this work with your child, which will be great. The more you can have the counselors take on a lot of, and that's what their job is to take on a lot of this responsibility, the better. But you too can be part of that conversation and thinking through with your child, how can you best support them, and just asking them, how you can best support them going forward. So some internal triggers to relapse are just your child's thoughts and feelings. They may feel lonely, they may feel depressed, they may feel anxious, and they're scared too. A lot of our kids are scared of failing when they go down this road. And some of the exterior challenges can be stress at work, family arguments, again, connections with friends that are still using or drinking, that kind of thing. Even driving by old, places where you used to use or bars that you used to go to can be triggers. So all these things need to be taken into consideration. And then finally, you can easily brainstorm with your child how you can be the best support for them. You can do this on your own. You can ask your child, what do you need from us? How can we be helpful for you? It gives your child an opportunity to think through what he or she needs from you, and how you can be the best support. And it gives them the message that they do have inner wisdom and they can find their way through. And you are there to be a support for them. So I hope these tips help. I know, again, that relapse for many parents is something that comes up often. And when our child does change their path, it's sort of like, oh, I don't want to go down that road again. And I get it, it's hard. So do hang in there and know that there's hope for your child. If you found this video helpful, I would love it if you would subscribe and like the video. Share it with your friends if you know someone who also is concerned about relapse. But also add in the comments any ideas or thoughts or things that helped you when your child was going through their recovery process, that helped you not worry so much about relapse. It would really be great to hear your thoughts and ideas. So take care, and thanks for watching the video. Bye for now.